For an entire generation, the path to a career was supposed to be simple. You go to university, get the degree, send off applications, land a graduate job, climb the ladder, build a life. It was the script handed down by teachers, politicians, and glossy university brochures. A promise packaged as certainty, but the promise has quietly collapsed. Across the UK, the US, and Europe, every dataset tells the same story: fewer graduate jobs, tougher requirements, longer job hunts, and a labour market where entry level now means be fully trained before you arrive. The system didn't break overnight. It eroded piece by piece, reshaped by economics, technology, corporate priorities, and institutions too slow or too unwilling to admit what was happening. The collapse isn't emotional, it's structural, and it's measurable. The modern graduate job crisis starts with a simple numbers problem. Over the past 2 decades, governments expanded university access at an unprecedented scale. In the UK, UCAS data shows higher education participation increasing nearly every year. The OECD reports a similar trend across advanced economies. More degree holders now than at any point in history. But while universities were scaling up, employers weren't. The number of graduate-level jobs never grew at the same pace, and in the last few years, it shrank. The Institute of Student Employers reported a 6% drop in UK graduate vacancies in 2023, the first major decline since the pandemic. In the US, the National Association of Colleges and Employers found hiring plans for new graduates fell sharply in 2023 and again in 2024. This is not a minor fluctuation. It's a trend line that has been forming long before the headlines noticed. Universities kept enrolling more students. Companies kept offering fewer junior roles. The mismatch widened, and the inevitable consequence was a labour market where employers could set the bar as high as they wanted because they were drawing from the largest pool of graduates in history. That's the first structural fracture. Too many graduates, too few graduate jobs. To understand why graduates are now expected to bring experience into their very first job, you have to look at what happened inside companies during the cost-cutting waves of 2022 to 2024. Public filings and media reports show mass layoffs across companies like Meta, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, Deloitte, EY, Disney, and BlackRock. Tens of thousands of corporate jobs disappeared in a short space of time. Companies rarely publish detailed seniority breakdowns of who is cut. But repeated reporting shows that corporate, support, and non-revenue roles are often the first to be reduced during restructurings. Roles that historically included many junior analysts, assistants, coordinators, researchers, and graduate-level positions. Analysts and labour market researchers consistently note that early career roles are the hardest to justify during downturns because they require time, training, and mentorship before delivering measurable output. The result is visible in the data. Graduate schemes have shrunk, intake sizes have fallen, and many firms have quietly reduced or paused structured early career pathways. Training has shifted from being treated as an investment to being treated as a cost, not because companies openly admit it, but because their hiring and restructuring decisions show it in practice. When margins tighten, the easiest spending to cut is often long-term. Development, mentorship, and entry-level pipelines. And that's what creates the modern paradox. Graduates are told experience is required because the system that once gave them that experience has largely been dismantled. Automation didn't destroy jobs. It destroyed training. Here's what most conversations about AI and work miss. Automation is not just replacing entire roles. It is reshaping the tasks inside roles. And it is those tasks that once trained new workers. Research from McKinsey estimates that roughly 20 to 30% of tasks performed in many early career and office roles are now technically automatable using existing tools. These are not high-level decisions. They are the repetitive, process-heavy tasks that once dominated the first years of corporate life. Summarizing documents, cleaning data, scheduling, preparing spreadsheets, drafting slide decks, assembling research packs. Historically, this work functioned as informal training. It taught graduates how systems worked, how data flowed, how decisions were prepared, and how organizations actually operated. As automation absorbs more of these tasks, companies no longer need to hire large numbers of junior staff to perform that training work. The entry point shrinks not because jobs vanish entirely, but because the stepping stone work disappears. AI did not eliminate work. It compressed the learning curve. When fewer low-risk tasks exist, there is less incentive for companies to hire and train people who start at zero. The economic logic shifts. Businesses increasingly favour workers who can contribute immediately rather than those who need years of development. There was a time when a degree acted as a clear signal, not mastery, but readiness. It told employers a candidate had the baseline discipline, cognitive ability, and foundational skills to be developed on the job. That signal has weakened. Large global employer surveys, including Deloitte's Human Capital Trends and repeated World Economic Forum workforce reports, show a clear pattern. Employers report growing concern about skill gaps among graduates, particularly in applied digital skills, problem-solving, communication, and real-world workplace readiness. Universities argue that they are delivering job-ready graduates. Employers argue that new hires require more remediation and training than before. The gap between perception and expectation has widened. So, companies adapt quietly. They don't publicly say they no longer trust degrees. They simply raise the filters. Job adverts that once asked for willingness to learn now list technical tools, software ecosystems, and practical experience. Not because the work suddenly requires elite talent, but because employers are trying to reduce uncertainty. The degree no longer acts as proof. It acts as a risk variable. And when firms want to avoid risk, they outsource training costs to the market itself by demanding that someone else has already paid to build a candidate's skills. That is how entry level quietly became 3 years required. Not by accident, by design.